Hi, kitty cats. Tonight I have no script, no notes. In fact, I got no plan because the evening belongs to you. So ask me anything, and as long as it's in good conscience, I'm going to answer you. And if you have answers to these questions as well, I'd love to hear your comments. Maybe we consider this a tell me anything as well as an ask me anything. Before we get started, though, I do want to tick over some ground rules. Number one, if you ask questions, ask them with genuine curiosity. Don't just throw something out there because you know you're going to make me mad. All right? Any question asked in good faith will be welcome. Number two, you don't need to get all the words right. Put that in quotes. If you're afraid to ask a question because you think you're going to use words that might offend me, just try it. I do reserve the right to rephrase your question, but I mean, if you have a question, just ask it. Number three, and this goes for me as well as for you, this is a judgment free space. If you're going to ask a question, and again, it's in good conscience, you are my peer in this whole situation. I'm not going to judge you, and I expect you will not judge anyone else asking questions. And finally, number four, this is the last one. Your intelligence has a home here, and your identity has nothing to prove. You do not need to defend yourself, right? It's a judgment free space. Who you are is given and sacred. That is my motto. It's the way the whole thing works in our Discord server and everything. So now we can get to questions. Let me first say hello to people because I see at least Angela and Margie, although I see a few other people who are lurking and haven't said hello. But I want to jump. There was a question I got that I'm going to go to first. I'm going to get to you both, Margie and Angela. I'm going to pin these because otherwise I'm going to miss them. Here we go. Okay. So when I put this out a couple of days ago, I got a question from somebody named Persephone. Oh, there's Persephone now. Hello, how perfect. The question is, what's something you thought transition would not change, but ended up changing after all? I think this is a fabulous question because I think it's got a lot of different layers. The first thing that I would say, I did not expect transition to change. I'm not really sure what word I want to use. I don't want to say like political beliefs or something. I'm a little unsure how I want to put this. But I had spent 52 years prior to transition. I had spent 52 years like working for the man because I guess basically, I was a white, ostensibly male person in technology. Hello, Dudko. Oh, and Thistle, hello. Oh, and Miranda, hello. Whole lot of you. So I had spent a lot of time acting in a way that was supposed to work in industry. I did not expect those feelings to change. But once I started transition, I recognized how much hate, how much discrimination, and this is only built over the past 4 years, unfortunately, since I transitioned. But I didn't expect all the level of hate that I started to experience. And that did change. I mean, again, I don't know what word I want to use. It's not really political beliefs, but it did make me investigate like what I had believed for a total of 52 years at that point, that I was like, wait a minute, was the American dream really what I intended to do when I got into this whole thing? Was why there were a lot of things that kind of came together that I went, I do not believe the things that I do any longer. I am so much more compassionate, I think, so much more willing to believe people. And I guess I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to go too nuts on this, but I certainly did not expect that I was going to change personally, and I changed pretty significantly. That's one example. I mean, I think it goes further. Just my ability to feel emotions, my ability to express emotions, so much has changed that I never expected to change. I didn't think I would change that much personally. Um, I mean, the other thing I certainly didn't expect, because I started in July of 2022, right? And by November of 2022, so that's what, seven, I don't know, is it 3 or 4 months? Within 4 months, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to work like a real job anymore. Instead, I'm going to do content creation. That was something I certainly could not have predicted. That I am sitting here now doing a live stream with as an Ask Me Anything. There's no way would I have expected that to have happened. You know, July July 7th when I put on that first estrogen patch. So anyway, Persephone, hopefully that answers you. There were some really deep changes that I just never had any expectation that they would change. And for what it's worth, I'm really glad that they did, because I'm very happy. Um, all right, I am going to. So now let me move on to one from Angela. This is a great one. Angela says, last year, someone asked me if I ever regretted transitioning. The only thing I regret is not having the guts to do it a decade earlier. Have you ever regretted transitioning? Quick answer, yeah. Yeah, there have been several points in this process where I wished I hadn't started it. Um, I was talking with my wife the other day, in fact, and because believe it or not, I've had not a great time in August. It's just been kind of a tough few months for me, for what it's worth. And then maybe you remember I had estrogen issues, a little bit earlier in the year. So it's been kind of a difficult 2026. But I was telling her that there was sort of a tradition that by August, I was going to have some really major depressive episode. And I certainly have not expected those either, but it really just started happening like August of 2022. For some reason, I got really depressed. August of 23. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I was driving away, not intending to come back. 2024, I had just gotten back from Thailand, and I was like, oh my God, my life's terrible. I'm going to drive away, not come back. And then this year, I haven't. I have certainly been down, but I haven't, been at the point that I was going to drive away and not come back, which at least is good. So yes, in at least those 4 instances, few instances, whatever, I have felt that I made a bad decision. Certainly. After I got surgery, the healing process was not a lot of fun, not in the least. So I didn't, I regretted that for a while. All of this being said, and then of course we can put together as a package all of the discrimination that I started to face as soon as I started transition. To go back to what Persephone asked. And in the end, yes, there have been many times that I said, boy, I wish I did not do this. Wish I did not do this. And in the end, once I got past that very local, minimum, once I got past the local minimum, there was always a higher maximum. So when I look back from 2022 to now, I see that it was sort of, if I were to draw a line, I'm going to be able to do this left to right. I don't think so, but it was sort of like the going up and then, oh no, a minimum and then up and then a minimum. So it was an overall upward trend. So to answer your question completely, day to day, yeah, sometimes I regretted it. At this point, 4 years in, no, do not regret it. Best decision I've ever made. I think if I were to ask my family, not just my wife and our son, but also my, my sisters, or at least one of my sisters, because 2 of my sisters don't seem to care for me right now. I think all of them would say, yeah, you have no reason to regret this. I think overall it's been positive changes. Hello, Sarsaparilla Jones, and thank you for sending a gift. There's one. See, I told you if I hit 10. Oh, I didn't say. I have another special thing. If I get a total of 10 different gift type things, I will answer one very personal question. We'll see where it goes. Don't know. But look, we're one. Woo! All right. Angela, hopefully that answered your question. Thank you so much. That was a good one. Margie asks the question, riffing off of Angela's query. In my experience, it was interference from trauma, which hid my transness for a long time. Have you any insights or suggestions for those in my old shoes? Oof. I'm gonna say I think that is. I don't want to say common because that sucks, but it seems like a relatively frequent gender diverse experience for us to have some sort of trauma because the world doesn't like gender diversity. Perhaps I'm preaching to the choir here, but the world doesn't like gender diversity, certainly not right now. And I think that all of us, even whether we knew that we were gender diverse or not, we still end up with a bunch of trauma. Margie, I think you had different. Let me rephrase that. I know you had other different traumas as well. And I think we all end up with something, totally different traumas. But, the traumas definitely can hide our ability to look deep inside and go, you know what, I'm gonna believe me here. I'm not gonna believe someone else. So, do I have any insight? I think the big thing would be just you're allowed to listen to yourself. If you're unhappy, listen to that. If you're going through something that comes from trauma, you need to be able to hear yourself because I think that's super important. Um, Obviously, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention hypnosis as a possible way of addressing some of this trauma. Um, but even without it, I think even just being able to write in a journal, to sit and think, those are all activities that help you hear that voice inside. And you need to honor that voice inside because that voice inside is really you. So happens actually, I had a conversation with a person named Spencer West. You'll see this podcast on Friday, and we had almost that that same conversation right there about the little voice inside. So, what was the other thing I was going to say on that? I think that was about it. I think that's about it. Thank you for that, Margie. There was one more, and I don't remember where. So I'm gonna pop this up because I think it's close enough. Um, so Margie mentioned in response to Angela that sex work is work. Angela had asked the question, "What do I think about sex work?" Because there are a lot of transgender people who go into sex work because you may or may not know this, but statistics show that the gender diverse community is not only something like 8 times more likely to have suicidal ideations and then attempts, something like 8 times more probable. But we also struggle with finding and keeping a home, finding and keeping a job, finding and just being able to feed ourselves, care for ourselves. There's a whole lot that goes into being gender diverse that ends up manifesting as difficulty kind of keeping ourselves going. And, we've talked about this a lot when we were talking about stigma, how stigma ends up withdrawing our ability sometimes to receive feedback. And without feedback, we can't really have course correction. So where this all goes is to say, do I think that people going into sex work is bad? I'm going to say from, general, universal, no. I've thought of it myself. When I was younger, and I don't know that I want to say virile, but when I clicked the wrong thing. When I was younger and more virile, I was really, really thinking about it when I was a graduate student because I was like, I could probably make good money. So anyway, I think sex work is work, as Margie says, period. There is nothing wrong. In fact, actually, I'm going to say one more thing about this. I think oftentimes you get And I don't even want to really say oftentimes. I think the manosphere is a manifestation, no, pun intended on that, but is a manifestation of this puritanical attitude that Margie's talking about in her comment. And so the point is that I believe that if we withdrew the taboo of just going and having sex, because like how bad is that? I mean, but if we could withdraw that, I think that would make people much happier. I think we would have less things like domestic violence, other sexual assaults. I mean, I think it would be reduced if we were capable of just going out and saying, okay, I'm going to pay you whatever money. I don't know how much that costs. I'm not saying that to say, like, oh, look at how cool I am. I'm saying that because I've been in a relationship for 26 years. And anyway, point being that I think if we had that outlet, I think there would be many happier people out there. So transgender, gender diverse people going into sex work, like go at it. I think that's good. Honestly, do what you can do. Let me move on. Let me see. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your favorite color of the alphabet? Mine is zebra. I did like if it's Canadian, it must be zebra. There we go. There it was. On a scale of 1 to 10, yeah, my favorite color of the alphabet is probably I'd probably say Pisces. I'd guess Pisces, Aquarius, maybe Capricorn or Jones Limited. One of the four. Something like that. If anybody knows that reference, like drop that. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. If you know that, I'm going to give you like a bunch of props. Let me see what we got. I said hi to Dudeco. So let me see. So Dudeco's got a story here, ultimately. Off topic, but one of my closest friends, known the dude for over 3 years, finally accepted my gender. Ooh, which is awesome. As he said, I started seeing you as a guy after seeing how much you suffered for it. Oh, started seeing you as a, yes, okay. I was so surprised. I think that's beautiful. That this person was finally able to see you as the person you are. The suffering, it's always kind of fascinating. I way back, I think it was 2023, so not that way back, but I got an email from my father died, so his widow, I guess, is what I'd say. But he was not my mother. So she was a stepmother, then she's a step widow. Like I don't know what you call that. Point being that she sent me an email and says, "Hey, happy birthday." Dead name. And I said, "Ooh, my name changed. I changed my name. Now you can address me as such and such." And she sent me back this vitriolic email that's like, "I'm glad your father's dead. He would be mad to see this. You're a horrible person and you're going to go to hell. And this is why, everyone hates America," essentially. And I was like, wow. And I sent her back, an email. Well, first, what I did was I wrote an article. So this is 2023, probably March or April of 23. Wrote an article that said, would my father be upset by my gender transition? Now, my father died in 2009. So long before, I transitioned, but certainly not long before, my father was abusive to me for likely because he sensed some of my gender diversity. So I thought about that because he died when I was 39. Yeah. So it's not quite 40. And what ended up happening here, the point of this story is to say that when he died, we had really never connected over 39 years. You would think that maybe it could have gotten better, but the point is that we didn't. And so my article was about my father accepting me for who I am. Because I bring up, well, he was really nasty to me all my fucking life, pretty much. But I think that if on his deathbed he had seen me, he would have ended up saying, well done for getting through all of that, plowing through it all, and getting, wow, these things keep changing on their own. There we go. Um, I think he would say, well done. I don't know if that's true. Uh, but I sent the link to my step widow, whatever, my wicked step widow. And she ended up sending me back this email that said, "Oh, I did not know the level to which you suffered as a child. Your father always told me that everything was hunky dory. I didn't hear it from any of the children's standpoints. Now hearing it from you, thank you for this perspective." I wouldn't say that she's going to be coming, to hang out with me, but I was surprised as well to see that somebody went, "Wow, you really have suffered. You really have suffered." And even if I don't completely support what you've done, what you're going to do, where it's going to go, because again, this was relatively early on. I wasn't even a year into HRT. Even though she said I'm not going to, she probably wouldn't support where I was going. She was at least willing to say, "Okay, you suffered for this." And so thank you, Dudeco. Beautiful, beautiful point. Um, wow, this is jumping all over, which is kind of weird. Did this come up? Good. Miranda says, "Just watched Mamma Mia with my bestie." First of all, I love ABBA. Just love ABBA, okay? Sing along with ABBA in the car all the time. Usually Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. That's my favorite. But so Miranda goes on to say, "Just watched Mamma Mia with my bestie. Found myself identifying more with the female characters than before transition. Is that familiar? Is this familiar?" Yeah, I think so. There were definitely characters in books that I went, "Oh, that would be like I am." But I have a good, a relatively good example that happened in the last couple of weeks. When I was in graduate school, right? Like I said, I've shown some of you the photos. I was very pale and tragic and gothic and lots of rings and black and eyeliner and all the things. Bondage, belts, having a good time. The point being that when I was in graduate school, there was a band. They broke up by now because the lead singer passed away. But it was called Typo Negative. Is the name of the band. The point here is that Typo Negative has a song called Black Number One, and if you know this song, then you'll get it. But it's a song about like this gothic girl, and then the chorus goes, "You want to go out." I can't think how it goes. "Oh, you want to go out because it's raining and blowing. You can't go out because your roots are showing. Die in black." Anyway, it's called Black Number One. I always was like, I wish I could be that little goth girl. And I never really could, right? Because I hadn't transitioned. But the last couple of weeks, I was listening to that album and I went, "Oh, I could so dye my hair black. I could dye my hair black. It could be Black Number One. I could have little wolfskin boots, clove cigarettes, erotic funeral for which I'm dressed, all the things. Perfume smells like burning leaves. Every day is Halloween. That could be me." So, to answer your question, yeah, it's pretty familiar. Whereas, 30 years ago, I was like, "Boy, I wish I could be that." Now I'm like, "Oh, I can. Wouldn't that be great?" And I think Margie had a similar story, which was pretty cool. Oh, I don't know who this is. Hello, first of all. Mavery42, I think. Is Mavery? Hopefully I said that correctly. Hello, I don't think I've seen you. Good to see you. Spaghetti's here. Hi, Spaghetti. Oh my gosh. All right, let me see. Zedbra. Hi, Anita. Oh, hey, Joan Series here. I'm half Thai. I had stretched earlobes that closed. Wow, really? I didn't realize that was possible. I find this fascinating. And I have a question, and I don't. Hopefully, it's going to end up being not going to end up being offensive. Anita says I transitioned on the job in IT, so I would have been in IT, right? Software engineering management. So Anita says I transitioned on the job in IT. I can't say I experienced hate or discrimination, but many colleagues seem like they would have liked to ignore it. My question, Anita. My whole life, I've always been hyper aware of people's criticism And I know you've mentioned you're autistic or at least on the spectrum. And one of the characteristics there, of course, is not necessarily to be aware of other people's criticism. So I'm curious if my hyper awareness um, made me go, look at all the hate and discrimination, and your, I don't want to call it lack, but diminished awareness would go, I didn't really see it. I don't know, but it's a question. Um, Let me see. Oh, this is so kind. Thank you, Margie. Margie says, I have had some spectacular and unexpected woes in my transition. I want to thank you in particular and this community in general for helping me through the darkest times. You are so welcome, sister. I am honored that any of the work we've done has helped. Any of the people you may have been introduced to through me have been supportive. Um, I think I'm just going to say this is why I do what I do before I start crying. So, um, here we go. All right. Hello, Avery. I don't know if Avery Princess is still here. Hello, Brittany. Um, I love this point. Dudko says, I think the only way to really change someone's beliefs is through genuine friendship and care. Education is helpful, but doesn't really work that much. It's a fascinating point because I think education can only go so far. The next point is they have to be able to, I don't know that I want to say empathize, at the very least sympathize. I think that's the way I'd put it. I don't think I don't know, because I kind of go both directions on that. Much of what I try to do is educate, which is pretty clear, I'm sure. But at the same time, you have to be able to show someone, look, I'm not anything different from what you are, and that's the other part of what I try to do. Not necessarily with an AMA, but to try to make jokes, to try to answer questions in good faith, um, regardless of whether it's in something like this or not. You have to show that you're a real person with real emotions and real ability to be hurt. I think that's important because I think there's a lot of time a lot of people out there who think, well, these are not the same people as I am. They wouldn't feel hurt if I dump on them, and obviously that's wrong. So thank you for that. It's a good point. Um, this Thank you. I think this is a great point, Miranda. Miranda says, I had to heal a lot from a lot of my trauma before I could see myself. Oy, it just changed. I had to heal a lot from a lot of my trauma before I could see myself clearly enough to even realize I was transgender. Once I recognized it, I never looked back. Oh my gosh, why does this keep on changing on me? It's killing me. Um, it's an I'm not trying to say this as a way of saying, look at how amazing I am. I was well aware of my gender diversity. I didn't have good names for it, but I was well aware of my gender diversity in the single digits. So it's interesting to me to hear stories of the egg cracking. Like somebody once asked me, what's the egg crack? What was your egg crack moment? And I was like, I don't really have one. I don't have like the point where I went, oh my gosh. I kind of knew it. It was about 24 that I went, well, let me just acknowledge this. It wasn't like it was new knowledge, but I went, I can give this a name. And I couldn't really, but I was like, at least I can accept this and say, this is part of who I am. And I started telling other people about being gender diverse. So I don't know if that would be an egg crack moment. I kind of think it wasn't, because by like 12, I was like, oh, I'm going to be transitioning genders. So I don't know. But trauma is such a huge thing. Where is this? Here we go. Oh, this thing keeps flying around. Hi, Paprika. How are you doing? See, I love this one. This is the story I was talking about. Yeah. Margie says, once I realized I could be that beautiful woman every day, I was instantly committed. I love it. So amazing. Oh, and Shiloh's here. Oh, hello, Shiloh. I'm sorry. I missed you. Um, let me see. What did I have? There was another. Oh, this is off topic. Dolly Parton died today at the age of 80. And I would say I am nowhere near. I'm trying to figure out how you say this. I was nowhere near a country music fan. I would not have been the kind of person to have gone out and bought an album by Dolly Parton, really listened to one. If it came on the radio, I went, "Oh, isn't that lovely? Yeah, it's cool." And I'm really disappointed in this. She was the kind of person she was the kind of person who could take every mean comment leveled at her. Because I was thinking about this. I saw something recently. I don't know why. It was about a week ago. I saw snippets from uh, an interview that Dolly Parton did with, oh, what's her name? Oh, Barbara Walters. There we go. And Barbara Walters was ripping her up, just like going, "You kind of look like a slut. Aren't these kind of stupid clothing? Don't you feel like an idiot?" And I'm paraphrasing, but she was mean to her. And I think what was so interesting about Dolly is that she was bombastic. And when people said, "Aren't you a bit bombastic?" She was like, "No, if you have a problem with me, that's on you, not me." And what she did was give, I think, a lot of people permission to be who they are. And while I was nowhere near a country music fan, I liked Dolly as a person, and I'm very sad, that she's now gone. I would never have wanted to emulate her as a singer, her fashion sense. I would never have wanted to emulate her, but I certainly want to emulate her ability to be all about love and acceptance. So I'm sad. So thank you for bringing that up, Paprika. Um, see, here we go. Rest in power, Saint Dolly. Hello, Sub America. Hello, Lola. Uh, Angela says, "I wasn't able to tell my father that I was trans, but I am sure he knew there was something different about me, but I believe he would have accepted me." I'm pretty confident my father would not. Um, I wrote that article more as like a closure for myself. Uh, in the grand scheme of things, he didn't want me to come to his deathbed when he was, I guess, on it. Um, I brought this up to my sister, and she was like, "Oh, he didn't really invite any of us, but I thought I had heard differently, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we would have like reconciled. I don't know what the word I want to use is, because I think I would have shown up at his deathbed, and I think he would have looked at me and gone, "Ooh, I remember smacking you when you were 4 years old." And I think when you're on your deathbed, you would go, "I regret that." Or at least I know I would. And I'd like to think that he would. So I never got the chance to really for him to understand my gender diversity. Uh, I don't know that he ever really accepted me as a person, but I wish he had, I guess. I wish he had known about my gender diversity. And I wish that, I could have talked to him and said, "This is who I am." And maybe he would have cut me off entirely, but at least he would have known me. And that would have been, I think, very important. Um, Anita says, so with regard to it was Miranda's comment. Anita says, "I never had issues identifying with female characters like Pippi Longstocking when I was young." I loved Pippi Longstocking. Oh my gosh, I so wanted to be her. There was one little bit in a story. She's walking down a road, whatever, and there's a girl sitting on a fence, and the girl goes, "Have you seen my father?" And Pippi says, "Oh, I don't know, like tall guy? Yeah, that's him. A big, huge, bushy mustache." And she goes, "Yes, that's him. Shaved head. Mm-hmm. Is wearing, very big muscles." And it's, "Yes, that's him." And she goes, "No, I haven't seen anyone like that." And then continues to walk on. And I was like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." I loved Pippi Longstocking. Um, and I loved that they dubbed it from the Swedish, when I saw them, Swedish into English, because they were horrible dubs. You know, they were really badly done. But anyway, Anita says, I never had issues identifying with female characters like Pippi Longstocking when I was young. Didn't even, is it working? Yes. Didn't even think it was an indication of being trans. Yeah. The boy in that book is just boring. Yeah. Tomi and Annika were their two names. Yeah. Tomi and Annika. I did like Annika. The boy is boring. He's not even like the straight man, like the Abbott and Costello. Like Costello was the Abbott was the straight man. It wasn't even like that, right? I mean, Pippi more played off of what's her face, Annika. Anyway, I like this comment from Spaghetti, who says, I think we are pushed as kids to identify with characters that are the same gender instead of identifying with a character that has a good personality or things we connect with. Totally agree. I'm trying to figure out how to spin that into a story. For the longest time, my mother told me, you love women with blonde hair. This is when I was a kid. It was, oh, you love women with blonde hair, which wasn't untrue. Ann Gillian was one of them. I loved Ann Gillian, but I also really loved Linda Carter, right? Wonder Woman was a very influential show on me, because I was like, wow, women can be like sexy and strong. I didn't know that could happen. Look at that. So I think my mother was trying to make this sort of hetero kind of, you like women, right? You like women, don't forget. And I think some of the women I know that I was like, oh, Ann Gillian, for one, I think I was probably like, I would love to grow up and be Ann Gillian. Don't know if I'm going to get there, but so yes, we are absolutely pushed as kids to identify with characters that are the same gender. I mean, obviously, social norms. You mentioned good personality, where it was yeah. So you mentioned good personality, things we connect with. I think the reason why we get pushed toward a character of a certain gender is because some of the personality traits, some of the things that we connect with, end up being very gendered. So, like, if you have somebody who's nice, like you don't, if you were supposed to be a boy, rough and tumble boy, you weren't supposed to be nice. You're rough and tumble. You're going to run and jump and climb trees and punch people in the head and, whatever boys do, because I really do it. I was often punched in the head, actually. So I guess I do know that much. But point being that, some of these personality traits, some of the things that we connect with are gendered, as social norms, not because they should be, right? But as social norms. So, I mean, I think it's early gender training. I think I would use that phrase, like gender training. So thank you for that, Spaghetti. Okay, good. See, I like this. And then Spaghetti goes on to say, maybe I just think so, but since I'm NB, so I'm not giving any way in either direction. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know for a fact, my mother wanted me to watch The Dukes of Hazzard, The $6 Million Man. I was watching, it wasn't The $6 Million Woman. What'd they call it? The Bionic Woman. Yeah, The Bionic Woman, Wonder Woman. Those were the things I liked. Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. Those are my favorites. And the Croft Super Show. Is that what the hell it was called? I don't know. This is too long ago. But yeah, I think my mother was sort of like, hey, you need to like these sort of cishet normal. What was the thing? Cishet mono allo normative. Was that it? Puritanical? You're going to have to drop it back in the comments, Margie. But see, look at this. Miranda goes on to say, so many of the boy characters are boring. Wished I could be a girl character and didn't know why. And I think a lot of that comes from, we were thinking about social norms. I wish I could express myself that way. I'm making this up a little bit, but I have the feeling that's part of what we were doing. So, and I like this. So then Margie says, for me, I was working in a machine shop. So this is I believe, presumably the egg crack moment. For me, I was working in a machine shop and annoyed at the attitudes therein. It was the implosion of my work life which opened the door to my gender explorations. And I think it's awesome. I I don't know. It's so strange to I just I have no I just have no egg crack story. I didn't realize those were real until I heard them and I went, there you are. Um Hello, Miles Alexander. Thank you so much. Cis hetero monoallonormative puritanical values. I had forgotten about that. Thank you. And I'll pop it back up just so that everybody can. If you need to spell that, cis hetero monoallonormative puritanical values. I'm going to pin that just in case I need to use it again. Oh, Shiloh's playing some games. That's good. What do we got? Miranda says, oh, so Amy, in retrospect, I can see the ways in which I knew on some level but had no language or place to put it. I think that's super common because I have known people who are like, oh, my egg cracked to like 59. And I went, so you never liked pink or fairies, you know, something stereotypical, frilly, girly thing? And people go, oh, yeah, of course I did. Yes. I mean, but that was not, you know. And I go, well, isn't that part of it? Isn't that a manifestation? Wouldn't that be like something that you think about now and you go, well, now I can get these things that I didn't allow myself to like before. And then, you know, I'll see people go, oh yeah, huh. You have to touch your face when you do that. I don't know why. There's a Jerry Seinfeld bit that went, oh yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Yeah, you think so? Yeah. All right. I don't know. So anyway, I think a lot of us do that. That in retrospect, you go, yeah, look at that. How about it? um, what else do we have? Oh, Margie says it was similar for me, but instead of lacking vocabulary, I failed to see how I myself fit into transness. I had to experience gender euphoria, and that did it. I suspect that's pretty common too. I mean, I had those moments from maybe 6 or 8 years old. I'm not really sure exactly. Oh gosh, an interesting little tidbit. Um, I don't remember when I had this conversation with my sister, but I have talked about this dress that I wore when I was like, whatever, 5 years old, 7 years old, eight. I don't know the exact age. Certainly by the time I was eight, I know that much. But I mentioned uh, this one dress, this purple paisley dress. And I happened to, you know, I've said this on the show before, and I mentioned it to my sister at one point. I said, yeah, I have this memory of like this paisley purple dress. And she goes, oh my God, I loved that dress. And it was like, you remember the dress? She goes, it was my favorite dress for the longest time. She got it from, there was a friend of my mother's. I don't even know how they knew each other. But it was Spike and Paula Spiker, or their names. They lived in Beverly Hills in this just ludicrous mansion of a place. I mean, it was really, they're both gone now. So, you know, in fact, actually, I believe both of their children are gone. I know that well, I'm not going to go into those stories. The point is that apparently Spike had given my sister Laura this purple paisley dress, and that's why it was in the closet. Because I had never known where the hell it came from. I was like, this is not the kind of thing, you know, my parents would have bought. So, Spike, if you're out there somewhere, thank you so much for that purple paisley dress because it really was a huge influence on me. Truly appreciate that. Anyway, moving back to Miranda here. Sorry. Margie, I'm sorry. Margie says she had to experience gender euphoria, and that's what did it. And I think that's pretty common. I think you have to get those moments where you have where you can see the person behind who you're trying to be. There was a moment in when I was an undergraduate, and just my hair was longer by then. So this is my second year, I think, as an undergraduate, and I lived on campus in the dorms, right? Like you do. But I remember somebody saying, wow, your hair's probably long enough I could French braid it. And I went, so French braid it. And she goes, really? I can still, her name was Sandy. Sandy, if you're out there, thank you also for those gender affirming moments. Truly appreciate you. Kind of wish we'd hooked up, but I know you were getting married at the end of the summer, so that's how it goes. Point being that, did I? It moved again. What the hell? Anyway, the point here is that I said, oh, go ahead and French braid my hair. So she does. And then she goes, her friends, she goes, I got to tell the other girls in the dorm. So she comes out. So then they all come out. One goes, I have some cute clip-on earrings if you want those. And I went, sure. And someone else goes, I bet you'd look good with some eyeshadow. And I went, lay it on me. And then the last one goes, I have got this amazing fuck me red lipstick. And I went, bring it out here. So there is a photo of me. I don't know how old I was. Couldn't have been more than 19. And I don't know that I still have the photo because I probably don't. But of me with French braided hair all made up. And all of these women were just like, yeah, it's totally normal. Of course, no big deal. But that's another moment of the gender euphoria where you kind of end up being able to see yourself. I mean, obviously they had to take a picture and then I had to develop it. So it took a while, but yeah, that I looked at myself and went, oh, cool. Look at that. So, this is interesting. So Anita says, I suspected around age 13 that I was trans. I also had the language for it soon after, but I only came out after learning about non-binary identities much, much later. At 13, I'm not going to ask you when you were born. Gosh, at 13, I know I didn't have the language. I certainly remember Christine Jorgensen growing up. I certainly remember the ability to go to Sweden to do the whole thing. I don't know that I had the language. Ultimately, I just thought of it as I was part woman, part man. And that was the only way I thought of it, which I guess is having language for it, but not like a technical kind of language. And that was the only way I ever introduced it to anyone I knew. I just said, yeah, I'm kind of like part woman, part man. You'll find that I have both. And people will go, okay, either okay or okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, the language that early. Yeah, Spaghetti says, I really wish I had all the information from the beginning. Yeah, don't you? Yeah. Linda Carter was a literal super babe. Still pretty amazing. I loved, if you haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984, she does have a cameo at the end, and it's pretty amazing. This is fascinating. Angela says, I don't understand how people see someone as sexy and feel aroused because I have never felt that. That's fascinating as like a dominatrix. It's interesting. No, look, here's someone else. Spaghetti says, I can rationalize my way into the feeling, but I don't have it myself. Wow. That's amazing. Same. This was the kind of thing that I was like, oh, I really don't want to. So Joan Siri says, I remember cringing when my parents called me handsome. I said, no, I am pretty. I don't like handsome. There were times, so there was a book, and I don't remember the book at this point. I have no clue. But there was a book I read at one point where it was an old one. Suffice to say, it was an old one. Hello, Devin, all along. And hello, Oliver, by the way. The text on the screen wasn't necessarily me. Anyway, this book that I read, whatever it was an old one. And the word handsome was applied to a woman because the word itself didn't used to be, only applied to men. It was applied to animals, women. I mean, it was a more general term, somewhat like winsome, perhaps. Although I guess it's kind of feminine now, but not the point. The point was that I remember when I saw that, I went, okay, maybe I can grit my teeth and get through this, because that was applied to women, at least back in the day. And so I just thought to myself, I'm like, listen, I'm just in the 1700s. That's all. Nothing weird. Just me in the 1700s. Anita just asked me to spell cis hetero monoallonormative in the ICAO phonetic alphabet. Oh gosh, what was it? Charlie, India, Sierra, Hotel. Yeah, we're done. Here we go. But I did want to show this. I realized that day in the thrift store changing room where I first truly saw myself. I had lived my entire life in a choking fog. And for the first time that day, I raised my head and saw the horizon. Oh, beautiful. That is so beautiful. So Angela says, because I didn't know what trans was when I was about 8, I just used to wear my mother's clothes and at first thought I was a cross-dresser. Then I realized I was a trans woman. I'm, I mean, I feel like I did sort of a similar thing where it's just like, this is just what I do. This is just the way I feel comfortable and I don't see anything wrong with it. So, yeah, I think I sort of did a similar thing. There was okay, here we go. So Anita says Germany made a transsexual law making it possible to change your legal gender in 1980. So I think by that date I knew that word. I certainly knew the phrase sex change by 10 or 11. So early 1980s. So fascinating point. So I guess I kind of had language, but oh, Oliver asks the question. Here we go. What other platforms are you streaming on? 2 others, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say them because sometimes if you do, the other platforms get pissed off. But one starts with a Y and 2 of them start with T. Whoops. Yeah, here, let me go back to this. Margie says, I also used to joke quite often, I'm just one of the girls, or I'm a woman trapped in a man's body. Only after my egg epiphany did I finally realize that these were truth rather than jest. That's one of the big things I think that I felt. Being able to talk to women, like being more comfortable with women, and women being comfortable with me was one of those things that made me go, yeah, I mean, one of the girls kind of thing, which did make, the ability to have a girlfriend a little more difficult, right? Because sometimes you'll get, oh, you're just like a sister to me. And you go, dang. But there was, I used to joke too, and I know think I've said it here. I used to joke that I was the wife in the relationship with my wife. Now, interestingly, I am the wife in the relationship with my wife, but I used to joke that I was that because I was the more sentimental one. I was the one who remembered birthdays and crap and whatever. But, obviously, I look back now and it's like, see, there you go. And see, here you go. Spaghetti says, handsome women and pretty guys are the best anyway, right? There you go. I like that. Okay, well, so interesting. So Angela says the dominatrix was just a job, nothing sexual for me. Yeah, I can hear that. So yeah, Margie had said, I had long heard of sex change surgery and was fascinated by that, but of course, this was something which would forever remain outside my personal reality. I expected it to be. Certainly. Oh, thank you, Devin. Devin sent me a little gift. Oh my gosh. And actually, I'm seeing this now. Devin says, I wanted to say thanks for doing this. I really appreciate you. You're so welcome. I was mentioning, Margie, I'm going to get right back to you, I swear. I was mentioning earlier, I think it's important for people to see like the personal side of some of us. I tend to do science. I tend to do, politics, philosophy, psychology, whatever you want to call it. And it's one thing to lecture, but it's another thing just to be like, throw something weird at me and I'll see what I can do. Because I think that's important. I really think that's important for people to see. There was a comment made earlier, Devin, about once somebody had seen another person suffering, then he was more willing to accept gender diversity because then he was like, oh, you don't have to suffer. And so if you don't, then clearly you must be gender diverse. And I think this is part of why I'm trying to do these things. So thank you so much for that comment. So Margie was saying, I had long heard of sex change surgery, and it was fascinating, but it was something that would remain outside her personal reality. It was a similar thing for me. I remember hearing about it, but it was like, well, I live in Los Angeles and we're Poe, right? Like, I'm probably not catching a flight to Sweden in order to have this done. So I did start the process in 2001. Um, right after I'd left a job with phenomenal insurance. Like, why I thought that would be the time to do it, I don't know. But I did. And I still expected that to be outside the realm of probability. So yeah, I think it's really it takes a moment of being able to go, you know what, I do see myself as I am, and and transition as a whole is available to me. So yeah, I feel like I trailed off there, but I love what you're saying. Um, Margie says, for a long time, I was impressed how good my mountain biking calves looked in heels. Yeah, see, so I'm a barefoot runner, right? These big, huge, shapely calves. I hear you. I love that. Um, Spaghetti says, I don't remember when I became aware that sex change surgery was a thing, but I was still sort of dreaming for years to get breast cancer because that would give me a good reason to cut my breasts off. My sister, actually, who is cisgender, has the same story. Um, she saw it as an opportunity. She got breast cancer. She actually had a recurrence. What is that called? Recurrence? I can't think of the word. Sorry. But it came back last year. And she had more surgery last year, but she saw it as an opportunity and she was like, that's amazing. She's like, look, I can get rid of these things that I've hated my whole life. It's fascinating to me that because there's a law now that says that, I mean, it goes back a long time. I want to say early, early 80s, 70s or 80s, which I know is a long period of time, but 70s or 80s, where Congress passed this in the US, passed a law that said if a woman is a candidate, a possible candidate for breast augmentation after she's had breast cancer, insurance must cover it. I forget what this law is called now. I'm blanking on it, but I believe I've got the gist of it. And the point is that this was put into law that gender affirming care, specifically for women who had just gone through breast cancer, was essentially a right. That insurance, if this person was a candidate, insurance could not deny the claim. And this was in the 80s, 70s or 80s. I forget the exact time again, but that's a fascinating point that there are laws that cover gender affirming care like that go way the hell back. And right now we're going, oh, no way. We couldn't do that. That seems ridiculous. So, sorry, Spaghetti. I was really not intending for that to go off on a tangent, but there you are. Um, oh, this is a good question. What time is it? Okay. Angela says, when I had bottom surgery, I felt it was just a minor issue that made life easier. Did I feel the same? Did you feel the same, I guess? I think I would say the quick answer is yes. When I initially said to myself, okay, this is possible, this is possible for me to do, um, I was surprised because I never thought that I would care. Ultimately, I never thought I would care. And so once I started going down a path where I was like, okay, we're going to go and do this thing and flying off to Thailand, I'm going to do it. I didn't, maybe this is another thing for Persephone. I definitely didn't expect the changes that I had happening. I thought it was going to be like a minor inconvenience. Would have been like, yeah, getting rid of that, but really, truly, it's just a minor inconvenience. What it means is I can wear panties without a bulge. Done. Didn't seem like that much. Ultimately, it ended up being far more psychological than I thought it was going to be. So yes, I thought it was just going to be this kind of minor thing where I went, nice. I'm glad I'm done with that. Now I can wear different clothing, but it was not. So the answer to your question is yes. But within about 2 months, I was like, oh, wow, that's really more profound than I ever expected. So, um, yeah, okay, see, so here we go. Shiloh says my egg crack happened around at about 6 or 7 back in the 90s, and I'm 40 now. My grandma was doing her nails and makeup and asked her to teach me. Even further cracked when I asked to watch Tu Wong Fu. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh, that film. It's a shame you couldn't have watched Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, because at least that was, a decent film. And I liked the transgender representation in that. But oh well, good enough. Yeah, I mean, I think when you get those moments, it's the moment of gender euphoria. You're calling it an egg crack moment. I don't know. I mean, because I would dress younger when I was younger, and I would just go, well, yeah, of course. I'd look in the mirror and I go, beautiful. Look at that. It's purple and it's paisley. Someday I will have a whole bit having to do with purple. Anyway, not sure when that's going to manifest, but thank you for the question. um, oh, I love this. I should probably stop soon. Anita says I had a pair of really tight pants, black and white striped. Oh, that in itself is going to have, as long as they were vertical. A woman commented that my legs look good. That's the only comment about my body I remember from 50 years of pre-transition life. So all gothic, yeah, I had some stretch jeans. I had, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Black stretch jeans, because of course they were black. But, oh, and actually I had like some velvet velour, really, but I had like some fuzzy, pants, tights. And yeah, I would have people come up and go, wow, look at your, wow, look at you, wow, look. And I'm like, that's right. And they would go, but you're like you're not, I don't mean to say anything bad, but you're not. And I was like, no, but that's why I am part woman, part man. And so anyway, there you are. um where oh yeah, here we go. I'm gonna pop past a couple of these, but let me see. Spaghetti says gender affirming care being more available to cis people than to trans people is kind of annoying me. Not that I don't want that for them, but meh. Yeah, I don't know where to go with that. It's I truly believe that once, someone is out of office and possibly even, you know, in the grave, some of this is going to die out just naturally. Because I don't think I understand why anybody ever cared. Forgive me, sorry. Just burped. I don't know why anybody ever cared. So it is annoying. But look, I got a good question. So coffee breadwinner, hopefully you're still here, says, how do you feel about trans men? Do you find it easy to relate to them, or is there a barrier because of the differentiating goals? I think this is a fascinating question because the transgender men that I know, and I'm thinking of two in particular, I am really close to. Transgender men, I don't know. They do seem different. I do find it easier to relate to them. And then it's always kind of fascinating because then we'll talk about transition. It's just in general gender transition. And they'll go, "Oh, I'm so glad I don't have boobs anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, you'll pry mine out of my cold dead bra cups? That doesn't make any sense." What the hell was that? So yes, the different goals, because I'll be like, oh, it's so great. Now I've got, like big fat butt and stuff like that. And they'll go, oh, it's great because now I got big biceps. And I'm like, yeah. But they do the same. I go, I got, nice curvy hips. And they go, yeah. So it is, it's interesting to relate. I can relate to them on the gender dysphoria thing. And they just seem really easy to talk to. The people I'm thinking of in particular are really easy to talk to. even though the goals are different. Because we don't really, it's not really like a fashion thing. Like that connection, I don't think is just a, oh, you like short skirts? Oh, me too. It's not like that. So I think that's where that comes from. Thank you. Is a super good question. Uh, Oops, wrong one. I'm just gonna say, I love Tu Wong Fu. I am the type to love bad movies. Look, I love bad movies. Okay, but I'm gonna have to go with what Margie says. Tu Wong Fu is pretty good, but Priscilla truly ruled. Yes. I mean, you got Hugo Weaving. You've got Guy Pierce, and I can't think of the other one. Oh, for the life of me, I can't think of his name. But oh my gosh, just amazing actors. That it was really good. But yes. First of all, hello, anonymous T Rex. Little late to the trans Rex, sorry. Little late to the party, but wondering if you are fielding less serious questions. Hell yes. Are you kidding me? um, Let me see. Anita says, I loved wearing purple and orange pre-transition. In Germany, it wasn't even weird. In Canada, I got a few comments. I would not allow myself to wear purple. I was probably in my no, I know I was in my 40s, and my wife ended up buying me a couple of purple shirts that I was just like, wow, I can actually wear these things. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. And that was not even, it wasn't gender affirming care. It wasn't that I would call it. It wasn't me like trying to assert gender diversity. It was nothing more than, from a fashion standpoint, I can't believe I'm capable of doing this. I was like, that's awesome. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for the gifts there. What was the thing? Oh, here we go. Oh, so Coffee Breadwinner says, I am a trans man. That's why I asked the question. Yeah, oh, awesome. I did a podcast with a transgender man, Dr. Lino Martinez. He's a truly stunning person. Just just a gem among people. The other person I'm thinking about, I talked to him this morning, whose name is Robin Mallory. There, I suppose, is Robin Mallory, and I think Robin is another amazing. They identify as a trans man, and they and I. How do you say that? We get along really well. I'm yeah. Um, I just need to pop this up. The big, beautiful obituary is going to help a lot. Oh, I love that. I love this. So then Coffee Breadwinner goes on to say, all the trans women I've met have helped me so tremendously in gaining confidence in being trans. So I thought I'd stop by and listen to more trans perspectives. Well, thank you so much. There's no doubt that I think all of our perspectives give so much depth to the transgender experience in general. And I think that's really necessary. Personally, I think that is extremely necessary. Okay, now I've got some funny, some non-serious ones. All right. My first non-serious question. Oh, first. What movie would you recommend to watch during a hot summer day, and what drink would you pair it with? Okay, hot summer day. So, hot summer day, I think it would be fun to watch Barbie with a Cosmopolitan. Yeah, Barbie with a Cosmopolitan, because Barbie's pink, Cosmopolitans with a cranberry juice in it, right? Or is that grenadine? Or is it both? Anyway, this is why I was never a bartender. I did go to bartending school, but you'd think I'd know. Anyway, I think Barbie with a Cosmopolitan. But that same evening, that same day, like at night, I would go with, believe it or not, they sound similar, not Barbie, but Barbarella. With a bottle of tequila and just like a little shot glass right in front of you, you can just go, every time you hear something like, make love, but you don't even know my psychocardiogram, you go, there you go. So there you go. There's my there's my answer. Oh my gosh. Anita says, we tried to watch Priscilla 2 years ago because I hadn't seen it. We didn't get through it. I don't think it aged well. Really? Gosh, I won't kid you. I don't know when I mean, the last time I saw it, yeah, it would have been in the 90s. So I don't know. I'm curious. I would have to watch it. Now I'm going to have to watch it and come back and report. But super serious question number 2. Are you receiving a percent royalty on all avocado sales or just a flat rate kickback for each stream run referenced? It's become a recurring joke, right? I think that's the funny bit because I think it was you who first noticed it. That, hey, you had 2 live streams where you talked about avocado trees. So now I started making it like a bit. So I think it was maybe on Sunday I referred to them. I wrote a little article earlier last night. I haven't published it, but I wrote an article last night where I reference avocado trees because it's a perfect thing. Because I loved, the way I was doing it was humans and cats and avocado trees because they just seem so disparate. And to answer your question, though, it is a percent royalty. Yeah. Robin says, first of all, hi, Robin. Robin says, what was your journey like to getting your PhD? All right. So there's a confession time, I guess. When I was an undergraduate, no, I think it was probably in high school. My goal, my expectation, not my goal, my expectation was that I was going to end up getting a Nobel Prize in science someday, whether it was biology, chemistry. That was my expectation, going to get a Nobel Prize. So what that meant was that I had to do well as an undergraduate. I had to go to a great graduate school. I'm going to need a really awesome postdoc. I'm going to have to get a good academic tenure type post. And then I was, I was failing out of undergrad my first year. I got on academic probation like a couple of times over the course of a couple of years, and you have to get off it. I think you can only have, maybe you can have 2 quarters. Maybe it's only 1. I don't recall. But the point was that it was not easy, first of all, to get through my undergrad, which meant I went to not as great a grad school as I thought. What's fascinating, and I went to the University of Georgia for chemistry. What's fascinating is I met somebody when I was doing a postdoc who was like, wow, you went to UGA? What a great school. And I was like, did you wait? No, University of Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. And the person was like, yeah. And I went, okay, whatever. But it's a great school now is the point. So now I have a degree that gives me like creds. Point being that going through my undergraduate, what I did was stumble around trying to figure out who I was. When I got to grad school, I decided to lean into everything that I knew I was. I had spent, 5 years and as an undergrad, just kind of putzing around. And then I went, I'm not going to do this anymore. I am going to lean into everything that I know I am. And it was truly amazing. I could do no wrong as a graduate student. I barely studied. I blew out of there, in 4 years in like a month. And it was a strange bit. So that was the journey. Then I got out of grad school and I said, screw chemistry, I'm going to go do software instead. And my graduate advisor was very disappointed. Oh, why would you do that? Squandering your whole thing. But it was an extremely influential part of my life. And what's so crazy is that I went directly from grad school, where I was leaning into everything about who I was, directly into aerospace, where I proceeded to hide everything about who I was. It was a strange thing. And it took me about another 5 years, 3 years, few years before I was like, I can do this again. And this is how I ended up meeting my wife, actually. So there you are. Okay, there you go. Hopefully that was good. Oh, detachable penis. Yeah, see, Barbarella. Oh, here we go. Okay, Cosmopolitans. Yeah, so vodka I knew. Triple sec. I thought, okay, so triple sec and cranberry juice and a wedge of lime. Yeah. See, there you go. Oh my gosh. Kay is here. Hello, Kay. Oh my gosh. Says, hey, beautiful. I missed you by 5 minutes. I don't know if you're still here, but hi, Kay. Wait, I would never seem to cross paths with you anymore. I never end up with, I don't remember seeing your videos on my feed that much anymore. Hopefully you're doing well if you're still here. I'm going to suddenly see Tirol 3. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Do you think the term fish is offensive? Well, I mean, Barney Miller was really way ahead of its time. Abe Vigoda, right? I mean, was really just sort of one of those actors that you go, he can do no wrong. So, no, I don't think it's offensive. There was a quote by Frank Zappa that my graduate advisor was a huge fan of Frank Zappa. And at some point, I remember him going, he's quoting Frank Zappa, there are two things that smell like fish, and one of them is fish. And he turned to him and I said, I know, and the other one is dimethyl sulfide. So anyway, that was our conversation. Anyway, hopefully that was fun. I don't know. There was another one I was going to look at. Margie says, if memory serves, it was the phobic violence in the outback town that I found really triggering. Well, yes. I mean, yes. Maybe I shouldn't even say more than that. I do, however, I did really appreciate, Guy Pearce's, where he's talking to the character. She is talking to some people, and then ends up going. Then I guess the fuck is out of the question. And I thought, way to make it your own. And then of course, she gets abused, attacked, and that sucks. So, what? Angela says, how easy is it for you to get drunk? As with me, I can drink 30 shots of spirit and not drunk and no hangover. I have no idea how that could possibly be. As soon as I started transition, now actually I didn't drink for about a decade, for what it's worth. There might have been a little more. It was a little more, 11, 12 years maybe. And then I was like, well, let me see if I can use drink alcohol, because I'm going to tell you, when I first started thinking about drinking again or whatever, I thought back to why I would drink, and I stopped drinking because I was really hugely abusing it. I'm just going to throw that out there. It was absolutely abuse. I did sort of stop cold turkey, not sort of. I just kind of went, I think I'm done with this, and just didn't do it again for a decade. But once I started drinking again, I was kind of like, well, why was I doing it before? And the way that I saw it was that I was drinking at the time to obscure myself. And the way that I see alcohol now is as a way that I can actually celebrate myself. That doesn't mean that there are times when I don't get depressed. I don't know. It's not to say that I don't get depressed, and sometimes have used alcohol possibly when I shouldn't. But definitely the purpose of it has changed, and I think that alone was part of the story. So, how easy is it for me to get drunk? Super easy. I'm such a lightweight now. There's no way I'd be able to plow through 30. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. I don't. I had to actually read this in my head. Margie says, I'm happy to fulfill your high school vision of yourself. I hereby present you with Nobel. Wah, wah. Pretty funny. Oh my gosh. Matt says, I keep trying to think of a question and I'm failing. What's 32 to the power of 6? Well, let's see. 32 is what? 2 to the 5th? 2 to the 4th? 2 to the 4th. So 2 to the 24th? Oh. I had no idea. I could pick up, of course, my my HP41C clone by Swiss Micros. I'm getting percent royalty from them too. There you go. So there was so fish has come back up. Well, here's a first I'll say this. So Coffee Breadwinner says, how do I buy my jewelry? Is it a kind of just buy as you see them and it just builds as a collection over time? Or do you have specific stores or brands you go to? I'm going to tell you, I usually have very specific desires. So as far as jewelry goes, I'm wearing this ring. So this is, my wife bought this for me, first of all. So it's my wedding ring now. But I had the idea of it having like ivy and flowers with an amethyst, of course, because I said maybe someday I'd have some purple. So the point being that usually I know what I'm looking for. Usually I have a very, because with like nose jewelry, I was like, what I want is a ring, and it's got to be silver. Well, stainless steel. It's got to be stainless steel, and it's got to be small enough that it's just barely movable. And the same with a septum. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I've now touched my septum piercing a couple of times, and just makes me always feel like I've got. Anyway, the point here is that then I designed this thing. So as an indication of how specific I am, I designed this pendant so that I ended up getting it cast by, I don't know, some 3D printing place. That's how specific I am. Like, I knew the chain I wanted, a stainless steel chain with a actual silver metal jump ring, and this particular design. So I don't know. I have a definite idea in mind. So, okay, so here we go. So Anita says, I've only been hearing fish for 2 or 3 years. I'm not a fan. I don't know what it means. I'm going to go with spaghetti. I've never heard of the term fish aside from the ones in the water. Random emoticon yapping says, so what are the questions we're meant to think we can't ask? I don't know. I mean, what do you think you shouldn't ask a transgender woman? Okay, here we go. So Robin says fish is, I think, a derogatory term for where a trans woman passes almost too well, and the fish part refers to the stereotype of the smell. So I'm going to tell you, I was kind of surprised to find this, but mine does. I don't even have a neovaginal canal. I ended up getting a minimal depth surgery, but I very much smell. If I go a day without a shower, like, I'll go pee and I'll just be like, wow, hope nobody else can smell that. And actually, I've said that to my wife. I'm like, what? Do you smell that? And she's like, no, not at all. It just smells clean to me. And I'm like, ooh, okay, good. But so I don't think it's offensive, because at the end of the day, my body chemistry changed dramatically. I mean, obviously, I think some of that odor comes from a vaginal discharge that presumably I would not even presumably that I would not have, that a transgender woman would not have. But the rest of my body chemistry changed so dramatically, kind of not surprised that I do smell more feminine. Because, I mean, like, it takes some effort now to get body odor going on. I don't know if anybody else found that, but so there you go. I don't know if that answered it better. Thank you, Robin, for the clarification. See, this is kind of how I was. I'm not an alcoholic. I quit drinking all the time. I just keep starting again. Yeah, I would quit, go to sleep, wake back up. Matt says, I don't know either, but I'm going to pretend I do. Right. So Coffee says, I mostly buy rings and necklaces, but most of my necklaces are chains. So not much variety. What's so strange is I have I'm particular about everything else. My hair, I'm very particular about. By the way, I'm sweating so much. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how warm it is in this room right now. I have probably seen me like dabbing off drips here, but I'm very particular about the color of my hair, the length of my hair, how curly it gets, the length of my bangs. I'm very particular about a lot of things. My fingernails, I do them myself because I'm very particular about them. I keep using the phrase very particular, and I'm sure there's someone out there going, "Oh, you and your OCD." And it's no, 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 no. Because really what I'd have is CDO, because those are the alphabetic like order of the letters, okay? I don't know where I went with that. But the point being that here we go. It's I'm very particular with everything. And so I really, really know what I want. And usually that makes it a bummer for me because I'll go to a store and I'll be like, "You have nothing I want. I'm storming out." And they're like, "Wow, really? Nothing?" "Yes, nothing." um Anonymous Transrex says, "I think I figured out one of the questions we aren't supposed to be asking. What is your favorite color?" Um, my favorite color is purple. My favorite color has been purple all my life. I can think back to when I was just a child. I mentioned the purple paisley dress. Um, but I remember always loving purple, just always thinking, I mean, in part, there was like the royalty thing. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool too. So I definitely have always loved purple. That being said, my mother said, well, your favorite color is blue. And so I got everything in blue. When I went all gothic and pale and tragic and all of the things, and thin, I think you have to be, that's in there, thin, pale, and tragic. Hand staple forehead, that's my favorite, HSF. People would go, well, is your favorite color black? And I would go, like technically it's purple. And they would go, wait, that doesn't work. You have a black toothbrush. Like, how is black not your favorite color? And I'm like, because it's purple. And I don't know, there it is. For what it's worth, though, when I went into this whole thing, when I started transition, I wasn't like, I'm going to dye my hair purple. Because I wasn't. Originally, I was, I went, I only went about 6 months, I think, without dyeing my hair. But I was like, I'll have it kind of like a lighter blonde or something. Who knows? And really, I only had it dyed purple because I had it bleached to like silver, and I looked about 190 years old. So I was like, oh shit, put something on top of that. And so we're like, oh, we just go with purple. And I looked in the mirror and went, wow, we'll stick with this. And it just kind of started to work. So there you go. Oh no. But here we go. Anita says fish, meaning 17. Queer slang sometimes problematic. A drag queen or a transgender woman who looks like a cisgender woman. Oh, okay. I mean, I wouldn't find. I'm going to tell you, most of the time that is the goal, right? Most of the time it's the goal to appear cisgender. I mean, I'll put it to you this way: it was my goal. Doesn't have to be your goal. My goal was to pass as well as possible. So when I was in my 20s, like that was not a problem whatsoever. So perhaps then I was a fish. I don't know. What's your favorite dinosaur? Well, I know this isn't asked of me. What was I can't think of what it was. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember it. It was one where it was a picture in a book where the dinosaur looks like this. He's looking directly at the camera like this. With his big, huge mouth. It looks like he's going, yeah, let's party. Jazz hands, claws. We're going to go out and have a good time. Get some Cosmos. I wish I could remember it, but if I went upstairs, My kid would have remembered it in a second, but it was like the Yayosaurus is ultimately what we called it. Yay. That's my favorite. Here we go. Robin says, as a trans man, I agree. Estrogen does strange things to your body. Estrogen does beautiful things to your body. See, this is one of those places where we're going to diverge in goals, but anyway, every cis woman worries about it if anyone else can smell it too. No, I know, because my wife has asked me. So there you go. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Jetson Wayne. I know, random emoticon yapping. I definitely couldn't guess your favorite color was purple. There wasn't a single clue anywhere, not at all. I know. I'm usually pretty good at hiding it. Thank you. I think this would be awesome. Because Matt says, I'm going to dye my hair purple and not transition just to keep them on their toes. I think you should. Totally. I think that'd be great. Even just like a streak. You're going to need to bleach it first. So, because your hair is is reddish, so you're going to need to bleach that, but might be fun. Spaghetti says, my favorite color is red, but I don't need it everywhere. To expect people to wear their fave is a bit unimaginative. So the funny thing is, so I will tell you, right? Because I dyed my hair purple, and for some reason it started to work, which is fine. But then I was saying before, I heard that Typo Negative song, Black Number One, and I was like, I think I need to dye my hair black. So I'm going to see my stylist in September, the 17th. Seeing my stylist September 17th. Love that. And what the hell was I going to say about that? Oh, but I sent her a message. I said, hey, listen, it used to be back in the day, when I was a kid, that the prevailing understanding once, in the goth community anyway, was once you went black, you don't go back. I've heard that other people have used that in different ways. I don't really know what they mean. But the point here is that I said, is this still true? And she says, yeah, that's still true. And I said, so we wouldn't be able to like put black in. And if I go, I don't really care for it, then we take it back out. And she goes, nah, not really. So anyway, I'm thinking very strongly about just dyeing it black. And I don't know, part of me goes, it'll be fun. But then the other part of me, because I love walking into places because it happens quite a bit. Where I'll walk into some place and somebody goes, oh my God, your hair. I just love your hair. I'm like, well, thank you. Thanks, So I don't know. Part of me is like, I would be stupid to change my hair color because if I did, I'm going to lose this one thing that makes people just kind of reach out and go, hey, look at that. Isn't that? But then again, I kind of wanted my hair black because when I was, oh gosh, definitely when I was in graduate school, well, I've always had a thing for Betty Page. Everybody out there is going, oh, well, yeah. But I had this huge thing for Betty Page, and I was like, someday, Dominion, comma time. Sorry, wasn't going down that. See, I told you I was a goth. Point here is that I was like, someday I will have those Betty Page bangs. Someday. And I do, I guess, was where I was going with that. That one also I hadn't really intended, but then I went, what would happen if we cut this into bangs? Then I went, worked. Point being that the only thing I don't have is the black hair. So I'm really thinking about it, and I don't know. There we go. And the thing is, if I do that, then I can wear purple. Because it looks terrible. If I put on a purple top with my purple hair, I look like a grape. I look like Grimace. Was that what he was called? Yes, Grimace. Hamburglers like walking down the path with me, is ridiculous. So I'm thinking if I dyed my hair black, I could wear actual purple clothing. And so I don't know. There you go. Oh boy. Here we go. This is great. Matt says, I'm going to lean into the trans woman stereotypes and ask a bunch of silly questions. Can I see your Warhammer army? Oh, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that. I do have Magic the Gathering cards, a significant amount of Magic cards. True to like purpose, though, I've got a bunch of cards, but I never play them. So there's that too. What flavor of Monster Energy drink is your favorite? No. I don't know the name of it, but it's in the purple can. Oh, Jesus. How many jars of pickles do you eat in a week? Not many. I do like kimchi, and I love olives too. Here we go. Persephone wants the picture of the Yeosaurus. I will make sure to get that. To see if I can get that. I'll post it somewhere. But oh, really? Oh, dyed your hair auburn. Matt, I saw a video of you like 2 days ago. And maybe it's an old one. I don't know. Oh wow. Angela says my favorite color is orange because that was my house color at school. That's kind of fun. I don't know. Hello, Charles. This isn't wrong. Matt says, sorry, Spaghetti says, you're getting ready for fall. Autumn sounds like an autumn color. And then Matt goes on to say, well, not a bad idea, but I'm in Florida. Fall is 1 week in late December down here. Well, that's true. It's totally true. I would love to see this. Anonymous Trans Rex says, I want to dye my hair to match a nebula. So maybe purple will be included in my future. I think that would be so sweet. I think it would be so sweet because I concur with what Matt says. Purple hair is the coolest hair color, hands down, right after blue black. This is a great point. It is. So random emoticon yapping asks, do I know any trans people that keep their hair their natural color? I personally only know one, and that's because his parents don't let him dye it. Give me a moment. Because I can think of one of my friends. Oh, gosh, you're making a great point. I can think of one of my friends. Yes. Nope, hang on, two. I can think of two. I found two. I don't want to justify this exactly. There was a phrase I heard when I was, just starting out. I don't know how to put that. When I just started transition, where somebody says, oh, you're about to get the pink haze. And I went, I think you mean purple haze. The person goes, no. Pink. And it turned out in my case, it was the purple haze. Who would have thought? But the pink haze was, you go, oh my gosh, now I can say I'm a girl. So everything's going to be pink. Pink toothbrush, pink car, pink water bottle. I'm going to have pink underpants, a pink bra. I'm going to listen to albums by Pink. I'm going to get the Pinkosaurus. I'm going to watch Pinky and the Brain. Help me out. I'm running out of them. I'm going to buy myself some pinking shears. All right, I'm finished. Anyway, that was sort of the thing. I think that when you've spent a lot, any of your life, especially if you've spent most of your life denying who you are and telling yourself you cannot have the things that you've always wanted, dyeing your hair is like a really small thing. Now at this point, I look the way I choose to look. Like I mentioned, I'm very particular about all of the things that I do, all of my all of my expression, my fingernails, my makeup, hair, clothing. I think very hard about these things. And I think very hard about these things because I thought so hard about them for 52 years. And I had brief moments where I could go out and go, this is who I am, that I'm expressing myself as best as I can right now, just as who I am. And so I as much as I want to chuckle about yes, transgender women tend to have, different hair colors. I believe I believe it's entirely okay because we've spent so much time listening to other people tell us how we should look that I don't think it's worthwhile telling somebody not to. I do get a lot of, comments. always delete them, but sometimes they even show up in in live streams too. Where somebody will go, "Oh, please, like you have a PhD, you have purple hair." And I don't see the actual, like, I can't, there's no connection there to me. It was the same with like piercings in my nose. Like, I don't even like where the hell how that correlates with education. Um, but I do get those comments. They were like, well, we'd take you a lot more seriously if you didn't look like such a weirdo. And it's like, but here's the thing. My whole life, I've been a weirdo. Like I didn't start doing these kinds of things. I didn't transition to go, "Ah, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go be a I've got the whole thing planned out. Weird one day, and then weirder the next. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, weird. Thursday, I'm going to dial it back to just mostly weird. Friday, weird all the way. I didn't have a plan. All my life, I've been kind of odd. I had my hair dyed black for 20 years, something or so. I think just under. So, I mean, and before that, it was a burgundy, it was pink. Um, the pink didn't last very long. But I mean, I've just always been kind of a weird one. And I think that's fine. So I guess that's all I'm going to say. I do know a couple of transgender women who kept their natural hair color. But at the end of the day, go express what makes you you. Oh my gosh. Because do you know how lovely it is to look in the mirror and go, I have purple fucking hair? I love it. So there you go. So here's Angela. So we know. Here's another. I'm leaving my hair its natural color, brownish with a lot of white coming through. There you go. There's 3. I know 3. I probably know 100 transgender women, but see, here you go. Spaghetti says it's not like dyed hair is a requisite, but it can be nice. What color would you want? Yeah. So here you go. See, this is it. Matt says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Estradiol is a cheat code for Magic the Gathering. I've been playing since the 90s and I've gotten spanked by a 22-year-old trans girl like 5 times recently. And how did you do when you guys were playing Magic? Because, oh, moving on. Sorry about that. Matt says, was that funny? Did that work out funny? I wasn't sure. Matt says, my girlfriend dyes her hair her natural color. She just covers some grays. Yeah. Well, see, here you go. Now, random emoticon says, I guess now you need to listen to albums by Purple. Yeah, I was listening to Purple Rain. I don't think I can think of any other Purple things. Okay, well then let's go. Here you go. Saying to Matt Fair, I suppose she has broken the matrix. Totally is. Oh, hi, Haley. Hi. See, here's an interesting tidbit. So Matt says I've met more academics in various subcultures than in mainstream culture by a long shot. I mean, I think I'm with you on that. It's fascinating. I was supposed to interview somebody this afternoon, Dr. Diana Sorrentino, and she is like a gender therapist, not exactly a Dr. Z kind of thing, more like an HR academic, more HR, more academic, but similar. And I was going to interview her this morning, this afternoon, and I had some issues with my network. It's really not, doesn't make a difference. Point being here that when I first saw her website, I was like, oh gosh, this person's very academic. I was like, I hope we're going to get along because I don't want to get into this conversation, which we didn't have because I was having trouble with my recording software. But I was like, I don't want to get into this conversation and just be like, hey, I'm trying to have a fun time. And her go, yeah, but I'm academic. I'm not fun. I don't like having fun. The point was she comes on screen and I was like, hi, I can't get my recording software to go. I'm so sorry. And she's like, stop apologizing. Ended up being like a super fun person. So we're recording on Thursday. Not the point. But it's interesting. The academics I can think of, well, the academics that I liked, have all been sort of this weird kind of, subculture-y kind of person. You go on Blue Sky, 3 out of 4 people there have a PhD in some subject you didn't know existed. And you just go, wow, wow. So anyway, cool stuff. I agree. I think you meet a lot of academics and subcultures. So well, here you go. Wait, random emoticon is saying I'm thinking about doing purple or blue streaks. Blue streaks do look good. My wife does blue streaks. I don't know what your coloring is like, but blue streaks look very good on her. If you're listening, honey. Okay, deep purple. There's another one. I could listen to Smoke on the Water. I can listen to Purple Rain being done by Deep Purple. I think this ends up summing up so much of the work that I think I do. I don't know where that was going. Anonymous Transrex says, well, I think the idea of getting to choose what you look like is a hard concept for some people to grasp. And I agree wholeheartedly. I think for the most part, we are trained. Certainly I was when I was a kid. And so this goes back, back into the 1900s. We did have people then. Actually, we had just invented dirt, but just after that, I was born. What did you say? Oh yeah, choosing what you look like. I learned that you're not supposed to go against society. You're not supposed to go against what the people who push you down in the mud want you to do. You're not supposed to go against what your teachers would, how your teachers would like you to act, how the people around you would like you to act, especially your parents. Don't go against how your parents want you to act. I learned that very quickly. And so I think you're completely right. We now have this culture that just kind of goes, why would you be able to choose the way you look? And I guess my question back is, why would you not? Why should you not? And so anyway, to wrap up that little bit, that's why every single person I've tried to talk to about gender diversity, not even gender diversity, identity, I've tried to say that your identity is yours alone. No one else. No social norm, no society, no parent, no religious leader, no teacher has a claim on who you are. You have to find who that person is, and you have to bring it out, and you have to make it real. Because the only way that this world is going to be happy, the only way this world is going to evolve, is by all of us being who we are. I was going to go into a much longer little bit there, but I think, I've gone on enough with that. The idea that you are not allowed is one of the most corrosive, caustic, destructive beliefs that I was indoctrinated with, that all of us are. Get rid of it. Throw it out the door. You are supposed to choose what you look like. I'm done. I thought you said she was 20. Matt says, listen, the dolls all look so young. I thought she was 42. I thought you said 22. Oh, well. But it's true. I don't know. Estradiol makes it so much, took a lot of years off my life. All right, I got 12 minutes that I'm willing to talk about here, but I love this point. Now, Angela says, because I transitioned 36 years ago, I now only make an effort when I feel like it. I don't dress particularly feminine, as I don't need to be able to pass. When I first started transition, my goal was to pass. It took about a year, maybe a little less, before I realized that was a foolish goal. Because the goal that I needed to have was to end up expressing myself as who I was. And maybe that was going to be very feminine. Maybe that was going to be somewhere in between. Maybe that was going to be butch. I mean, I had my own ideas. I had a lot of ideas, but I did not. It took me some months before I went, you know what? I don't need to do anything. I don't need to do anything for anyone. And so that was why I was like, well, I'm going to dye my hair silver. I'm going to see what silver looks like. I'm going to see what lavender highlights would look like. I'm going to see what a red-based purple and then a blue-based purple. I'm going to see what it would be like to go back to using liquid eyeliner. It's going to see what it was like to learn how to use, fake eyelashes, because these are not real, just so you know. Everybody's like, no, of course we knew. But I went into this, originally with goals. And while I think that it's important to have guideposts, I don't think any of us should have specifically goals, should have specifically, I need to turn out like this, because that ends up being a recipe for disappointment. And the thing is, we spent all of our lives, and we spent all of our lives listening to someone else's idea of who we were supposed to be, listening to someone else's expectations, and internalizing those expectations, not our own, not the expectations we had of ourselves, but somebody else's expectations. And when we go into transition, the first time that we are actually going to express who we are, who we know we are, who we've known we are, I guess, the last thing we want to do is use someone else's expectations. So I'm very adamant about that. And I'm going to read this one comment by Margie that I think is awesome. Margie says, I rarely pass, nor do I try to. I do get compliments really often because I have a distinctive style, which was what gave me affirmation in my old life too. And I think that's really the point. Whether or not I pass everywhere I go, I guess I don't know. I don't know the last time I was misgendered. That's not really the point. But because I think the point is, right now, I have a distinctive style. And I like the way I look. I'd like to lose some weight. Easier said than done, especially when you're on estradiol. But I like the way I look. I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I go, yeah, there's me. And that's all I cared about. I wrote an article really early on, and I know I've used this phrase before, but it's worth repeating. I wrote in an article probably in 2023, or very early, where I said, I know I will have a successful gender transition when I see enough of myself to accept the rest of myself. And I continue to go back to that because there are things about myself that I go, I wish I could change that. When I did not see enough of myself, those were very painful. But now I do see enough of myself to accept anything that I thought was something I didn't want. I don't know how else better to put that, but I do see enough of myself, and I think that's the point. And I think Margie's point illustrates that perfectly. And there you go. Woo! Ben Martin asks one of those questions nobody thought was going to get asked. Am I bald and beautiful? So I'm going to tell you this is real hair. And I don't think that's what the question that you're asking. No. I did get laser hair removal. So here is a personalish answer. I got laser hair removal over my entire body, which was great. I mean, if you can get that, so great. I mean, it sucks when it's being done, but it works really well. Worked really well for me. So anyway, in the area down there, I ended up with a nice little landing strip, which is what I used to do when I was younger. I used to shave my whole body, arms, whole body, everything. And I always used to leave like this little landing strip. So I did a similar thing. An interesting tidbit is that I thought leaving that little landing strip, which was a decent patch, okay, it was not like minor. Once I got surgery, it kind of got pulled down some. And it's, I don't know, maybe some of it got taken off. I'm not really sure. But now we have a much smaller landing strip. And I know I have looked down there and gone, where'd my strip go? I am not bald and beautiful. I do like a little bit of a strip. But there you go. I did, there is one place where I believe I'm bald and maybe beautiful because I can't see it, but they do laser between the cheeks, as it were. And that's probably bald, and I can't attest to its beauty. Just gonna leave it there. Um, I do love this. Here we go. So, Anonymous Transrex says, my idea of a successful transition is to align my internal and external self. Less about specific changes or goals. If I start growing horns or a tail, maybe I'll change my mind. I think that's what I'm saying. See enough of myself to accept the rest of myself. That was really what I'm saying, is a sense of alignment. A sense of alignment of how I look with how I feel. And I think that was the bigger point. I do want to say, yeah, because Spaghetti says, I think I would struggle with horns. I'd probably get myself stuck and catch all kinds of things if I had them. I think I would kind of like them. When I was in graduate school, I dated this girl for like 2 weeks. Seriously, it was a really short. I think we went out twice, but she would always wear these devil horns, and I think that would be fun. Somewhat like Anita here, who says horns and a tail would reasonably align with my internal self. My best friend in high school called me Little Devil. See, there you go. All right, I got 656 here. I actually, by laser between the cheeks, do you mean upper lip and chin? I mean, yeah, they did that too, but I did intend the other cheeks for what it's worth, which is why I cannot see how beautiful it might be. Yeah. Should we end on that note? There you go. Um, oh, see, you know what? Look, Anita says I bumped into all kinds of things when I first grew boobs. For the longest time, yeah, I would walk through doors and go, oh, oh God, I've got to figure out where those are. Now 4 years in, they're not growing as fast. They still are though, a little bit. And I'm waiting until October to talk to my clinic because I think we're gonna lower my dosage so that I stop, growing up here because they're not getting any smaller. Let's just say. But I'm not running into door jams anymore. But yeah, it took me probably 6 months, six or possibly as much as a year before I was like, okay, don't hit the door. Anyway, there you go. 657. Hopefully this was fun. Oh, I can take that off now. Hopefully this was fun. I had intended to play some games, but we got some good questions and it just kept going. And I won't kid you, I love playing off of an audience. No doubt you may have noticed this about me. So what I'm going to do is cut this short now, or cut it, I suppose. It's not short. So I will have a podcast publishing on Friday. I had mentioned Spencer West. I have a promo that I just published yesterday. You can see a little bit of Spencer's story there. There'll be another promo tomorrow, so you can see a little bit more of that. But that podcast is really good. Spencer is a fascinating person, so that'll be on Friday. I'll have a Joy video on Saturday, as per usual, and then I will see you on Sunday. I have no idea what we would talk about, but I don't know. Maybe if someone has a topic, throw me a bone here. But here we go. I mean, actually, I'm gonna because you put this in just at the last moment here. So Fumiko, hopefully I'm saying that right, 6231 says, can you talk about your youth and when you first knew you were trans? I did not have the vocabulary. Certainly when I was 4 or 5 years old, I knew that I was gender diverse. I knew that I saw myself differently than other people saw me. And I think that's the best way I'd put it. I didn't think of it as gender diverse. Really, I couldn't understand why other people didn't get it. Like, I didn't understand why my parents were like, oh, we're going to get you trucks and blue things. When I'm like, no, I wanted to wear the dress. I just want to do that. So, I knew that I was not perceived the way I wanted to be perceived by as early as 4 or 5 years old. Certainly by 8 years old, I was well aware that people didn't get me. I know it was about 10 to 12 years old, somewhere in the early 1980s. I heard about gender affirming surgery. That's not what we called it then, but I did hear about that in the early 1980s, and I said, I will be doing that someday. So I was maybe 12 years old. I started the transition well, I should say, I started looking into transition when I was a graduate student. So in my 20s, this is now maybe mid 90s. I really started the process in terms of talking to people when I was 31. And then it took another 20 years when I was 52 for when I started actual transition. So this has been an ongoing thing for my whole life. I've known my whole life. Um, Hopefully that was a good answer for you. Last thing I'm going to throw here is serene shift pattern, which first of all, hello. I just found the stream and would love to try and join in another time. I'll be back on Sunday. So it's Sundays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. So, but they go on to say, I'm just barely starting to explore myself and well out from making any journey decisions. If you want to reach out to me, Margie, through the Discord link in the chat there. So we do have a Discord server. If I got rid of this, you can go to my website. If you go to that website, you can see more about my story. That's also a way to get to the Discord server. You can read all the blog posts and see the streams and all. But if you want to talk, that's what I love to do most. So if you want to contact me, you can send me an email on my website, through my website. So purplepawclan.com/contact. And I would love to talk to you. I would love to hear more about what you're going through and whether or not I personally can help you do that. So, okay, that is it. Thank you so much for a fun AMA. This is, look at this. Part of me went, uh-oh, real lib of TikTok. Hopefully it's better than the other one. But all right. Well, thank you so much for everybody, to everybody. And I will see you on Sunday. Like I said, I'll have some other content. So I'll, maybe look forward to that as well. So thank you so much. Have a good night. And I'll talk to you on Sunday. Bye.